Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope so you guys are doing well. So today I'll be discussing about fractures of upper limb, and upper limb has different bones, but I'll be discussing with you guys about humerus fractures, especially the proximal humerus fractures. So at first you should know what is humerus. So humerus is actually the longest bone of the upper limb, and it has different structures. It has different landmarks. So just see, this is the anterior view of the humerus, and this is the posterior view of the humerus. So it has different structures, and this is a greater tuberosity, this is the lesser tuberosity, this is going to be the surgical neck, this is the shaft. Then there is this medial epicondyle, this is the lateral epicondyle, this is the trochlea, this is the capitulum. So these are the very important major structures on the humerus, but do remember these because I'll be discussing about the proximal humerus. So you should know that which structures are present in this part. So this is the anatomical neck, and this is the surgical neck, greater tuberosity and lesser tuberosity. So what basically are the nerves and vessels supplying this area? So okay, so this is the axillary artery giving different branches. So see, this axillary artery is giving the branch of the anterior circumflex artery, and there is also the posterior circumflex artery from behind. So this is really important, so do remember this. And then there is this nerve. Okay, this is the axillary nerve. Okay, over here this is the axillary nerve. So whenever there is going to be a fracture over here, then this axillary nerve gets damaged, and axillary artery gets damaged. So do remember all these structures. Okay, so the proximal humerus fracture, just see here the different fractures are being depicted. This is the head, this is the greater tubercle, then there is lesser tubercle, and then there is surgical neck. See how the fractures can take place. So these fractures can involve the, this was the anatomical neck. It can involve this part, it can involve the surgical neck, it can involve the greater tuberosity or the lesser tuberosity. So proximal humerus fractures are about 4 to 5% of all fractures, and most common fractures are of humerus bone. And older individuals have higher incidence because of the weakening of the bones with age, which is known as osteoporosis. And females are more prone to get proximal humerus fractures than male. So what are basically the causes of proximal humerus injury? So the most common one is the outstretched hand. See how this woman, this old lady is falling on the ground, and see the position of the hand. See now this was the these are the arrows showing that how the force is being impacted on the bone, and see how this lady has now the hand is now out, the hand is now outstretched. So it led to the injury to the proximal humerus bone. So either it can be an outstretched hand, or it can be the direct blow to the side of the arm, if someone just give a direct blow to the arm. Okay, so now how the person is going to come to you. So patients are going to present with the arm held closely to the chest by the contralateral hand. There can be swelling, pain, tenderness. So these patient needs a very thorough neurovascular examination. So their axillary nerves should be tested. So how to check the axillary nerve? So axillary nerve, see this, that it is supplying this area, okay, this and this area. So you are going to touch this area, so in order to see if the nerves, the sensory examination, you are going to touch this area, lateral aspect, because deltoid muscle is attached and axillary nerve supply this muscle. So you are going to check this one. So you can check that if the nerve is intact or not. And motor testing is not possible because this joint is the joint over here is affected, so motor testing would be not possible. Then you are going to see the radiological evaluation. You are going to see the anteroposterior view, the lateral view, and the axillary view. And it is basically the best view for the evaluation of the glenoid articulate fractures and reduction of glenohumeral articulation. So just see this diagram, okay? So this is the X-ray showing this is the head of the humerus, this is the anatomical neck, this is the surgical neck, this is the greater tubercle, this is the lesser tubercle. Then there is a shaft of humerus, there is deltoid tuberosity over here. Then see, this is the lateral epicondyle, this is the medial epicondyle, this is the trochlea, this is the trochlea, this is the capitulum, and then the radius, and then the ulna. So this is the normal one. Now see, these are different views showing you. This is the Grecian anteroposterior view are almost the same. So I'll be discussing more of anteroposterior, the scapular, Y, and axillary. See how the axilla is being shown over here. So it is like more appropriate to have this X-ray done. This is the scapular Y, and this is the anteroposterior one. So what is needs classification? So needs classification is for the proximal humerus fractures. So it has 4 parts. Okay, needs classification has 4 parts. So it defines greater tuberosity. Sorry. So it defines greater tuberosity, the lesser tuberosity, the humeral shaft, and the humeral head. So what is a part? Like, when are you going to say that this is a part and it is a fracture? So if it is greater than 1 centimeter of fracture displacement, like it has been displaced more than 1 centimeter, or there is a 45 degree of angulation, then it is going to be a part. So needs classification, this is the diagram. So 1 part fracture. Okay, so I'll be, okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so 1 part fracture, there is going to be 1 part fracture. There is going to be 2 part fracture, and there is going to be 3 part fracture, and there is going to be 4 part fracture. So what basically I am trying to say, so in 1 part fracture, there is no displacement of, there is like no displacement of fragments, no displacement of fragments, but it can have fracture lines. Okay, it can have fracture lines, but there is going to be no displacement of the bone. So this is the diagram showing the minimal displacement, that it is displaced, but there is like it has fracture lines, but it is not displaced. The second part fracture, this one, these are all the 2 part, like 2 part fractures. It can be a anatomical neck, as I have explained it to you previously. It can be surgical neck, greater tuberosity, lesser tuberosity, or a dislocation. So it can involve either the anatomic neck, the surgical neck, then the, okay, here I'm going to write it over here, the greater tuberosity or the lesser tuberosity. So it can involve any of the 4 structures. Then there is this 3-part fracture. In 3-part fracture, now you have to remember that the surgical neck is going to be involved, but it can be either be involving with the greater tuberosity, or with the greater tuberosity, or with the lesser tuberosity. So GT is for greater tuberosity and LT is for lesser tuberosity. So it can involve any of this. So this is going to be the these are the, like, see, greater tuberosity, lesser tuberosity, and then there is fracture dislocation, obviously. Okay, so these are all the ones with the three-part fracture. Then there is four-part fracture. Then all the four structures that I've been explaining, all of them are displaced. So this was the needs classification, very important. Okay, so now how to manage this one? So as I have said that when there is going to be, okay, so when there is going to be one part fracture, so do remember that one part fracture is the minimal displacement. Okay, there is minimal displacement, so you can just go for the broad arm sling, and you are going to advise the patient that after 7 to 10 days there should be early shoulder motion. Then you are going to tell him to, after 6 weeks, like first 7 to 10 days there should be early shoulder motion. Then 6 weeks, then start the active range of motion. And then 6 to 12 weeks, resistive exercises, the strengthening exercises should be done. And then by 1 year hopefully he'll be fine. Then young patients with displaced fractures and severely displaced fractures in elderly patients with osteoporotic bones. So when the young patients are affected, then it depends that if the bone that the skin was the bone pierced the skin or not. So if it did, then go for the open reduction and internal fixation with the plate and screw. But if and in osteoporotic bones you have to go for the hemiarthroplasty, which means that you are going to be replacing the humeral head by prosthetic material. So then there is two-part fracture. That two-part fracture means that anatomic neck or surgical neck, greater tuberosity or lesser tuberosity, any one structure if it has been displaced. Then if the anatomical neck or the surgical neck, if these two necks are affected, then go for open reduction and internal fixation. But if there is if the older patient, because it's a neck, right, so go for prosthetic replacement. And if there is three-part fracture or the four-part fracture, you have to go for open reduction internal fixation as well. And okay, so here are the different treatments. Okay, so this one is the broad arm sling, collar and cuff triangle sling. So this is basically the conservative treatment, and it is done for one part fracture. Then here, this is the prosthetic. See, this is the prosthetic material. So here, this was the bone. The neck was the surgical neck and the anatomic neck. They were removed, and a prosthetic material, this one is being inserted inside the bone, and then see how it is going to cover this is going to cover the entire this area. So this was a prosthetic one, and it is usually done for the patients who are old. And then see, this is the open reduction and internal fixation process. See, incision and exposure. Then the placement of the intramedullary proximal fibular allograft. Here you are placing the allograft. Then there is you are going to fix this via the screw, and see this plate, and you are fixing it via screw. So you are placing the neck on its original place. So this is the basically the basic treatment. So what complications can occur? As I have told you earlier, that axillary artery is there, so axillary artery is going to get damaged. Brachial plexus is coming from over there, it is going to get damaged. Axillary nerve is going to get damaged. Shoulder stiffness, obviously there is going to be less movement over here, so the shoulder is going to get stiff. There can be osteonecrosis, there can be non-union or malunion. So these are basically the complications. Thank you for listening me, and if you really like this video, do subscribe me, comment and like the video. Jazakallah khair. Allah Hafiz.